So let's talk about. So I always say politics can be an individual thing, but campaigning is a team sport.
Totally team sport.
Because you
Without a
cannot
team,
be,
you don't do
you
it.
can't be everywhere. What should a new campaign manager just started? What should they be looking to put together for a team?
For a team, so for that core team, I would say you want to have people who, well, straight up, especially in today's world, like you need someone who's very comfortable with social media, right? So you have to be putting social media into play. Back in 2009, that wasn't really as much of an issue.
It was
but you have
starting
to
to show, but it wasn't really there.
Right. I mean, it existed,
Yeah.
but people weren't using it. So social media ambassador, or someone who's going to be kind of have their hands around that. A strong writer. You know, I did a lot of writing myself, and I enjoy it. But there's so much need, and there's so much happening at one time that I would highly recommend that you have someone who is completely on board with this candidate, knows this candidate well, and is a strong writer. And that
when you say strong writer, you're basically saying, okay, this person understands them, has good skills in writing, but can actually take that candidate's voice and put it into...
That's why they need to know the candidate or get to know the candidate very quickly, because it has to reflect their voice.
Right.
So whether that is, for speech writing, or maybe it's for websites or blogs, or even if it's an issues-based thing. Oh, sure. Yeah, right. Letter to the editor. Response to lots of different inquiries that come in. So that's key. Certainly people who are, in tune with strategy,
right.
that can help build a strategy. And in the case of whatever district it is, whether it's one town or six, building your I would call them town captains.
Coordinators.
Town coordinators. If you can get it down to the level of a precinct captain, that's even better,
right.
So that it becomes much easier to bite off, for any individual volunteer. But you need to be able to rely on a core set of people, especially if you have a multi-town district.
Right.
You can't be everywhere. This does not happen. A successful campaign, any candidate who goes into a race that involves 6 towns and thinks they can do it on like him or herself and maybe a buddy or a spouse,
right.
It doesn't happen, I don't believe.
Which I always point this out. The campaign manager needs to be somebody separate than the candidate. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Because you can't be
state rep and above. I don't know about I'm not
selectmen.
sure
You might
about
be able to
selectmen,
pull it
but
up.
yeah.
So you also have visibility.
Oh yeah.
You need a captain because that can be just a monster. And I usually put the visibility with the lawn sign people.
Yeah, just field organizers. It's like, so for instance, we'll have you get to know, and it's really important. You're building relationships, right? So with these aren't cogs in a wheel. For me or for any of the candidates that I've worked with, I feel personally really strongly about building relationships. The hope is, of course, that your candidate's going to win, and you're going to need them again, right? And they're your friends. Like, they become like extended family.
Passionate relationships,
absolutely. But you'll have retirees that are able to do certain things and not able to do other things, like lawn signs. I have a crew of guys who are happy to drive around in their trucks and pop them out, and they've got time in the day because they're retired,
right?
Not at all interested in
phone calls,
exactly,
hosting parties,
right.
So I always say lawn signs. I hate lawn signs, but the reason I hate it is it's a logistical nightmare. If you can get a crew, like you were saying, to go around and put them out, take it off your plate. It's awesome.
Take it off your plate if you can. Yeah, I mean, we've certainly been in the place where I've put out many a lawn sign myself, for sure. It's not a good use of the candidate's time, but
good for the one photo, but that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's helpful maybe at the beginning for him or her to understand what it takes to do all of this. I think they should always be connected to what it takes to do all of this, but I don't think it's a good use of their time.
If they're not talking to voters, they're not doing their job.
Yeah, they need to help them use their time wisely. So use the assets that you have, meaning the people power, and play to their strengths and play to their interests. Like, if there are people who are saying, well, yeah, I can help in this one little area, but I can't do anything else. Well, let them help in that one little area. Don't
Stacey Monahan pointed that out. It's like, whatever they want to do, get them to do it. Maybe they'll grow into more opportunities, but get them involved.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to need to write postcards and like you said, host parties and hold signs. Visibility, whether it's lawn signs or individuals out there holding signs, I truly believe makes a big difference. Right. People want to see that there are community members who are willing to take the time and be out on a street corner and hold a sign and that shows momentum. It shows support. It shows that people have faith in this person, and it gets name recognition out there, of course. And so I strongly believe in...
it's also a good entry-level spot. Holding a sign for somebody, and then you say, okay, hey, would you like to come to host a party?
Right.
A good starting spot.
Non-threatening. Just stand there, hold a sign for an hour or two, whatever you can.
Right.
I mean, some of my most memorable and best moments have been around, frankly, visibilities, and I can tell you some about that, but it's a very edifying process, especially as you approach towards the end. You're getting closer to November, and you're seeing teams of people come out, and you know that you're making a presence, and you're, in the case of ours, like, you're in every town, multiple times a week, and of course you want to be paying attention to what your opposition is doing, and either counter or be aware of where you can show more strength, or just you want to be aware. Now, so having someone on your team that is willing to tune in,
pay attention to the posts,
because social media is a challenge. It's difficult to watch. It can be difficult to absorb. It can be draining. And so I, as a campaign manager, I do pay attention, but I spent too much time in those early days watching. And it's
a rabbit hole. You can go down it and just not come out.
And it can really sap your energy.
So that's one of the new positions you got to fill. The other one is data.
I would say data, and then I would also say, beyond social media, technology.
Technology in general.
So
yes.
We were, with Kathy's campaign, for the first time, we used texting. So we were doing phone banking.
Which was huge.
But we did texting. This is a new service.
Yeah.
It just came into being. And it was our first foray. And so having one of our field organizers was comfortable taking it on and learning it, had never done it before. It was new to everybody.
Right.
He had ended up sharing it with other people and out of the Plymouth headquarters, so there are other campaigns that ended up making use of it too. And so not being shy about making use of today's technology, but it takes time to learn it, and it takes time to implement it, and you need volunteers to do that implementation. So it does add layers to the campaign, but I think it's important in today's day and age. And also the other influence on the campaign team or presence on the campaign team that I think is important is, if you have someone who's either maybe run in the past successfully, is no longer serving, or is currently serving now, if they're willing to participate at some level, then they're bringing their own strength of their own campaign strength. And it could be from years ago, or it could be from today.
Right.
But they're bringing their following behind if they're those third-party endorsements of all
having them with the
important.
candidate at an event is
introducing
huge. And then just making phone calls for you, saying, hey, I know 6 people, let me call them.
Yeah, or a letter to the editor.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's a huge thing.
Yeah.
So modern campaigns, we've got the introduction of social media, we get the introduction of data, but then, like you just said, we are always introducing new technologies.
New technology. I don't know what it's going to be next, in 2 years. I'm sure there'll be something else. But, Hub Dialer advanced the phone banking process, right? It's gotten better. It's gotten smoother. It's gotten faster.
So Hub Dialer, if you don't know, is an automated phone call system. So what happens is the campaign loads in the list of targeted universes, and then the system will automatically call, and all you need to do is get your volunteers to have a cell phone and basically go to a location and just make the calls, and it does it for them. No more paper sheets, which was a disaster. That was always a pain in the neck, trying to get those paper sheets in and out. And that was introduced 2 campaigns ago?
2 or 3. So I know, for instance, the Mass Teachers Association had been using it for some time. I want to say it might have been introduced 3 years ago. We did use it for one of Rep. Coulter's campaigns, but we used it heavily for Kathy's campaign.
Right. Completely revolutionized the way calls are made.
Yeah.
And then the texting, like you said, just got introduced this campaign, had great success.
Yeah, and it all ties into Vote Builder. So, you're able to.
Okay, so Vote Builder, if you don't know what Vote Builder is, it's the Massachusetts and I think national party for the Democrats. It's our database, and candidates who are from the Democratic Party get access to it. The Republicans have a different one, and then there's Nation Builder as well. But Vote Builder is generally what we use, and like you said, it all ties in.
It all ties in, and so in addition, another team player that's helpful. As a campaign manager, I'm in Vote Builder all the time. But you can be segmenting out your target list. So you can actually segment out. There's a way to and this wasn't me, so this was our social media guy, so I can't speak in detail on this, but you can actually target Facebook ads based on vote builder segmentation. Right. And we did, and it was successful.
Facebook ads were incredibly powerful.
Yeah. But you're making sure the message is which message you have getting to the right people. And so if you're introducing a new video that's got maybe focused on education, for instance, then make sure it's getting to the right age group.
People with kids, people with and then you get the senior messages. You've got veteran messages. How important is to have leads for those particular subgroups?
People?
Yeah.
I think in my experience, I wouldn't say we need. In my experience, we didn't have lead people on individual topics because the candidate really at that point was so invested. So
the town and geographic is more important than the subject matter.
Yes, from a tactical standpoint, from the visibilities, from the boots on the ground, from poll coverage, from letting especially multiple towns, what are the events that are happening?
Right.
Is it an agricultural fair that she needs to stop by?
Right.
Is it a spring cleanup that she really should be at and throw some gloves on and participate? Is it national night out where everybody comes out?
Right.
So there are certain things that especially I'm from the town of Kingston, I tend to know what happens in the town of Kingston, but I'm not reading the Middleborough paper every day, so it's helpful for, that's one of the things that we ask our town captains to do is just stay in touch with the news. If you think there's an event that's happening that this candidate really needs to go to. In our case, it's one precinct in Middleborough, and a large portion of that precinct is the senior community of Oak Point. And they have a lot of events that take place in Oak Point. They have fundraising yard sales, and they have concerts, and they have just it's a wonderful, vibrant community. And so, we had our precinct captain, essentially a resident of Oak Point, who would say, this is something you really should buy a ticket to. This is something you should attend. Walk through. Just come by, walk through. Say hi to the volunteers. Yeah, and so that's really helpful.
Now,